Welcome to the Ochsner Andrew Sports Medicine Institute up here on Vets, next door to my guy, Matt Bauer, state-of-the-art Ford dealership. If you're in the market for a new or pre-owned car, make sure you check out Matt at one of his many locations. He'll get you a great price, get you in that new vehicle just in time for the holidays. And, of course, this is another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. Start every day with PJ's. On today's show, we're going to talk about some more Rizzi ball, what it means, what a win over the Rams would mean. Can they beat the Rams? We're going to talk about some of the pending free agents and who can make a case over the next 6 weeks and maybe change their fate with some good performances. And we're going to get into a whole lot more this season MVP to this point, so stick with us after this quick word from our sponsors. Ochsner Hospital for Orthopedics and Sports Medicine on Clearview Parkway is celebrating 5 years of exceptional achievements. The hospital's integrated team has successfully performed over 20,000 surgeries using the latest in cutting-edge technology. With nationally recognized services and impactful partnerships, they continue to lead the advancement of orthopedic and sports medicine care in our region.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. NewOrleans.Football is proudly sponsored by Urban South Brewery, the makers of Paradise Park Lager. I love supporting local breweries, and when looking for a refreshing, easy drinking beer, I always recommend Paradise Park. In fact, I think it might be the best game day beer out there. If you want something a little lighter, try Paradise Light. It's everything I love about Paradise Park with just 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And if you're looking for a family-friendly place to watch the game, I'd recommend Urban South's Tap Room in the Lower Garden District. They've got 15 TVs, 30 unique beers on tap, and mouth-watering urban smash burgers. The whole family will want to make Urban South their new living room, because at Urban South, they take laid back seriously. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. Their agents are born and raised in the area and understand our community's unique needs and the homeowners insurance crisis our residents are currently in. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. They know your time is valuable, which is why they work diligently to provide you with the quotes as soon as possible. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. When we couldn't find someone to insure our house because of the big oak tree growing over top, Chabert worked until they found someone that would work with us and give us the protection that we need to feel safe in our new home. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust a team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com. All right, let's get into the show. Welcome back to the Ochsner Andrew Sports Medicine Institute podcast studio for this episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. I'm Nick Underhill. He's Mike Triplett. That's Brandon Thomas. Brandon, what do you got for us?
We're going to start off with our Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union segment. Today's first question is the Rams game a real barometer for Rizzi? This is going to be one of the biggest matchups he's had so far in his time as interim head coach. Rams, they took a loss last night, but it was to the Eagles, big time team, playoff team. So if the Rams find a way to come down here and give a fight, can Rizzi coach the Saints over the top?
I mean, first of all, Saquon looks insane right now.
Yeah.
Like you got him on a good team with a good line. Like it's crazy right now. I was trying to think about it and think if like any of that stuff translates to the Saints and their ability to maybe run on them and maybe a little bit. But I mean that Philly team is like just on a different level. I mean, the fact that the Saints turned that game into a rock fight, like that's kind of even like more impressive as time goes on.
They only gave up one 65-yard run to Saquon.
I kind of felt like at the time that Philly might end up being the best team in the NFC. Obviously I think it's Detroit, but like they're right there, right behind it, and he's been a great piece for them. I mean, but this one, if Rizzi's going to make a case and he's going to try to win this job over the rest of the season, I think this is a game he has to win. Like you have to, and they're a losing team right now. They aren't even a good team, but like it would be a quality win against a team with a losing record. I think we all agree they're probably a little bit better than 5-6. They had some injuries, all that stuff. Like that's still a good team. Very, very weird division right now out there in the NFC. Like they're 5-6, and I think the first place teams are 6-5. Yeah. So I mean, they're still very much in it. They have a lot to play for, and just being able to beat them, I think that's something that he has to have on his resume. Like he can't just get there beating the Raiders and the Giants. Like you got to beat them. The Commanders are somebody that I kind of got in that Fugazi watch. Like they showed it again this week. Couldn't beat a winning team.
Cooper Rush.
I'm sorry, they couldn't beat a losing team. Like they only have one win against a team with a winning record, so they're a little bit questionable at this point too. But like I think if Rizzi's going to get this job, like he needs to beat the Rams. He's probably needs to beat the Commanders, and you can lose to the Packers if you beat both of them, and maybe you still have a chance. But you need to win 2 out of those 3. I think this is one you have to get because I don't think you're going to go into Green Bay and beat the Packers. Like I think that's out of the question. I think this is going to be a really hard game for him to win. But you got to win some of these games and have some quality feelings on your resume if you're going to be the head coach.
A couple different things. Talk about this matchup in a second, but honest question, like because I tend to agree with what you said, but do we still feel like 6-2 overall? If Rizzi goes 6-2 overall, he could like potentially get the job because that would mean if you don't beat the Rams, lose to the Packers, you have to beat Washington. You have to win at Tampa Bay in the last game of the season. And frankly, that's one of the tougher teams on their schedule too. I think that might be the must for the good vibes at the end of the season for the whatever it means for placement in the division. Could be knocking Tampa Bay out of the playoffs. That one might be important. But so in theory, I think if they lost to the Rams, lost to the Packers, and won all the rest, and he finished 6-2, it would feel a little empty to go 6-2 without a ton of quality wins. But do you think that would be enough?
No. I think you gotta have some good wins. It's a head coaching job in the NFL. Like you aren't getting there by beating the Raiders. Like you have to actually like show some. I'm saying
Washington
change.
and Tampa would become your 2 most quality wins then.
Yeah, I mean sure, but I think you gotta.
Really
I don't think you can just have like cupcake wins. Like I don't know, the Commanders it would be a good win. The Bucs really aren't that good of a team, are they? Like it's not like you don't beat the Bucs and I'm like, damn, that guy.
I know.
You have to win some good games. And the way
I just kind of think that's a realistic scenario, and so I'm wondering, what if he goes 6-2?
For this team, it might be, but
the losses are the Rams and the Packers. Yeah,
I would hope not. I mean, but like I think you gotta like winning this game would go a long way toward it. They're 5-6 right now, but you saw how they just absolutely shattered them last year. The defense was completely unprepared for that game. If you come in, you make it look different, and you win the game, that's something that you can hold up at the end of the year. And you're sitting at that podium, and you're Mickey Loomis, and you're like, he beat the Rams. Like he did that against the Rams.
Right.
I don't think you can go up there and be like, he beat the Raiders, he beat the Giants, he beat the Bucs.
Yeah.
Like
I know.
We didn't go get Ben Johnson because damn it, he beat the Bucs. Yeah. Like I don't think that's enough.
Cut it out.
We could be talking about it a lot. I mean, like if you pick the games the Saints are favored to win, and the games, I don't know what the spread is on this after the Rams looked a little disappointing last week. We should probably figure that out. But like if it's possible that they win the 6 games they're supposed to win and lose the 2 they're not supposed to, and it would make for a very fascinating discussion. But I completely agree, this would help put them over the top. Now the interesting thing about the Rams is they looked terrible on both lines last night. Their offensive line, like they couldn't protect Matthew Stafford for 10 seconds last night. It felt like, or 2 seconds, I was going to say. So not only were they getting run over, but it makes me wonder if the Saints' defensive line can win a matchup against this team. We haven't been super impressed by their pass rush, but they have had 3 sacks in each of the last 2 games. So if the Saints can win this at both lines of the scrimmage, they can absolutely win it. But yeah, the big question mark to me is the one we saw last year when they could not stop Puka Nacua, they could not stop Matthew Stafford.
Right.
They got a healthy Cooper Kupp involved, and they've got Alontae Taylor and Kool-Aid McKinstry and Ugo Amadi, unless they make any changes back there, who haven't been killing it in the 2-game win streak. So their ability to stop this team's passing attack, to stop this team's offense is absolutely paramount in this matchup. And we haven't seen them do something like that yet. So it would be telling us a lot if they're able to.
So they get to the end of the year. Let's say. I mean, I'm kind of treating the Rams like they have a winning record. They have a losing record.
Yeah, it feels like it'd be a winning team.
Yeah. But like, if they win all those games and they lose to the Commanders and Packers, like you're like, yeah, give them the job.
No, I'm not saying give them the job. I'm saying we said in theory.
No, I'm asking you though. Like say he wins all the games and loses to the 2 teams, the Commanders and the Packers.
I actually think the Rams and the Packers are the 2 best teams, and maybe the Buccaneers, because I'm very dubious on the Commanders. But yes, if their 2 losses are, I would say if the 2 losses are Commanders Packers or the 2 losses are Rams Packers, it's kind of even. Like I think Rams and Commanders are pretty even. And if he goes 6-2, and that would mean winning the last 2 games, winning in Tampa, finishing 6-2. I would say he's the guy to beat. I don't know if that's enough.
What if Tampa's like a 6-win team? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Yeah,
but if he goes 6-2, and the only 2 losses are Rams and Packers or Commanders and Packers, it's so tough to say. I mean, he can't be worse than 6-2. He has to be at least 6-2. I think that makes it a tie. Like, I think that gives him a 50-50 shot at the job. What about you?
I just think he has to beat somebody, or it kind of feels like Indiana football a little bit.
Hollow.
A little bit. Like I think you have to beat one of, and I think you got to get 2 of them, honestly. Like, and I don't treat the Bucs like they're a good team. Like I just don't, like they're really injured. They're 5-6.
I think that Bucs team, I mean, they were up 30-0 yesterday. I think that Bucs team I actually think they're going to win the NFC South this year, or be mathematically alive for the NFC South going into Week 18, which is why I think it might be a meaningful win. But yeah.
I don't put a lot of value in any NFC South win. Exactly, I mean, it's just kind of, I don't know. Like, I think you got to beat some of them teams to me. I don't know. I guess we'll see what it looks like, though, at the end of the year. It's possible you have a 6-2 and it feels like a good 6-2, but
well, the inverse is funny. So if you don't have the quality wins, that means you've lost at the Giants or you lost home to the Raiders. So it's making me think he almost has to go 7-1 to win this job. 6-2 makes it 50-50, though, I think.
Like, for me, like, just for me to be able to, like, sit here at the end of the year, like, I don't know. Like I said, like, we could watch it and it could feel different at the end. But, like, right now, today, if you're asking me, okay, what does it take for you to sit here at the end of the year and be like, Darren Rizzi has to get this job? I got to see him beat two of the 3, I think. Yeah. I got to see him beat 2 of the 3. Like I said, I'm not putting weight on the Bucs. Like, to me, it feels like if you're going to get the job, you have to be able to beat the Bucs. You got to be able to beat the Giants. You got to be able to beat the Raiders. And I want to see, I mean, look, the bar's like really high here. Like, it's a head coaching job in the NFL.
Yeah,
just for me to sit here and be like, he has to get the job. Now, could you go 6-2 and it's like, the candidates aren't that great? Yeah, I guess I kind of like Rizzi more than these guys. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, for me to be like, they absolutely have to give him this job. Like, I gotta see something that makes me feel like, okay, damn, like this is insane. Otherwise, I'm gonna just kind of be like, all right, yeah, we'll see. Like, whoever they are is cool. Like, we'll see what they look like in the job. But beating the Browns, Falcons, Giants, Raiders.
That's why we kept talking about how this team could win 10 games if they could get their act together. The schedule, and the Rams at home and Commanders at home looked a lot tougher a couple weeks ago. Those are 2 teams that are kind of have their arrows pointing in a different direction right now.
Now, if he gets this one, and you're talking about them with like 4 wins, like that's some insane momentum. Like, if you can get 4 in a row, like at that point, I think you can beat one of the next 2, the Commanders or the Packers. Like, you really get rolling like that. If you get this one, like I think there's something though. Like, I think there's
not
something.
There's not a game on this schedule that I don't think they could win individually. I just don't. He's going to have to show that he has created a level of consistency that we haven't seen in 4 years.
I would
the
say
Packers game seems kind of
to me that one's almost 0%. Yeah, like almost 0%. Going in there like in the snow, December, really good team. I almost feel I'm scared of that one.
Sure,
I'm scared of that
that's
one.
definitely the toughest one.
It's like one year, like, all right, I kind of figured that, when it comes down to that. But even with the Rams, this is a team, championship DNA still in there between Stafford and, I don't know, McVay, the head coach. I don't know why I blanked on his name right quick, but you don't want to be that, we got to get right on them type of team. They lost in prime time to the Eagles, a very good playoff team that, like you said, maybe in that Super Bowl NFC conversation, you don't want them to come down here because Stafford is still playing good ball. He's still playing really good ball. He fed Nakua 9 times last night for like 117. You don't want to be getting exposed coming out of the bye week and just getting beat over the head by a team that's like, okay, we're going to get right going into the end of the season to help recapture our division and everything like that. So the Saints, they need to don't let the bye week be known as they laxed off a little bit and now they got to try to get back right going into New York. Because is that really a matchup that you want to have pride in and say, oh yeah, we beat the Giants with Tommy DeVito? You did that last year and it didn't really mean anything. So
that is interesting how you talk about how they have to come off the bye week. Like sometimes the bye week is really good, but it kind of feels like the Saints fell in love on vacation the last 2 weeks, and now they're coming back home and seeing if the relationship can last now that they're going back to work.
Yeah, like they really need to win this game. Like you had the whole week to prepare for it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it, like changing up the schedule, like feels kind of crazy to me a little bit, like taking it out of the routine. Like I know it's Thanksgiving, but like you're trying to flow into a season. Like if you're gonna have the bye week and then you're gonna do that, like you need to win this game. Otherwise, like stuff's gonna be up for question. So if you're changing up, you're trying to get a job. Like I think that's really good to get buy-in with your team and everything, and maybe you can get your work done and all that stuff. Like it might work fine, but like I just really think it's important for them to win this game.
By the way, the Rams, they lost to Miami at home a couple weeks ago. Barely won at New England last week, which is not a great team. Lost pretty convincingly to Philadelphia. After New Orleans, they got Buffalo, at San Francisco on a Thursday night right after that, at the Jets, Arizona, Seattle. Like you said, the get right. The Rams are probably looking at this as like the one they got to get on their schedule for the rest of the year. They got a tough road coming up.
Let's roll on to our next segment presented by Shop Bear Insurance, the Earhart Agency, sticking with the remainder of the season for the Saints. Which position group needs to, no question, show out to help the Saints get on this last little run?
Yeah, I mean, like I think it's like being realistic with it. You aren't going to grow a 6'3", 200-pound receiver and just, okay, here you go. Like all good now. Like, you know what I mean? Like that guy isn't showing up. Like Mike Thomas isn't walking off the street to save the day, a wide receiver. You aren't, going to show up with a great edge rusher all of a sudden. So, like, for me, just as far as they actually have some talent there and they can play better, I think it's absolutely cornerback. And I think that position is all of a sudden, it's very shaky. It doesn't feel as stable as it did. Blew through all the depth. Marshawn's gone. Adebo's gone. Alante's kind of shifted to the outside, hasn't been seamless to this point. I thought Kool-Aid was okay in the last game, but I'm not totally there yet with him. Got to see it a little bit more. So for me, it's absolutely that position. A position that was a strength, I think, has to go back to being a strength because, like, you aren't getting a different safety than Will Harris. You aren't getting that pass rush up front. Your linebackers are still pretty good. So I think those guys need to raise the level back to a spot where it's not at all a liability. And I thought in the last game, cornerback was a little bit of a liability for them. So just stabilize it to solid, and I think you have a chance of achieving your goals maybe down the stretch.
Well, and I mean, they're going to be tested more than ever in this game that we just said is the make or break game too.
Oh yeah.
By the way, Rams minus 2.5 favorites. So those losses didn't change Vegas's mind on that. It's funny. I had two different position groups in mind for this, and I was going to take whichever one you didn't take, and you left them both for me. So I guess I'll talk about both of them. But it's the offensive line and the defensive line for two different reasons. The offensive line has finally gotten healthy. It seems like they're pretty confident that Eric McCoy will be back healthy for this game. Lucas Patrick should be close to returning, if not this week soon. And we've seen the running game start to come back as pieces of the offensive line have come back. Now a fully healthy offensive line. We've talked a lot about Trevor Penny playing his best football, Tali Fuaga, how they held up against Myles Garrett and stuff. Like, if that can be a strength and they can actually keep running the ball, I mean, that has sort of been the number one reason why they've been successful for the last 2 weeks. So it's the same thing we talked about all offseason. It's the same thing we talked about heading into the season, and it's the same thing going into this last 6-game stretch. Can they be average or better and not a liability? And then the defensive line, which has just been the most disappointing unit of the team all season long. Like I said, they have 3 sacks in each of the last 2 wins. Some of that, I think, is situational, playing with a lead for most of those games. But, can this momentum, can this energy, whatever they've got turned around, maybe they're coaching it different, they're going back to fundamentals, whatever has been working needs to keep working, because it's the most underachieving unit on the team. There's no reason they're not affected by injuries. There's no reason why Chase Young, Carl Granderson, Cam Jordan, Brian Brzee, and then the backups rotating in can't be more effective than they've been. They have to be.
I'm going to go with the tight ends. I think they need to continue to show that they're viable options in receiving and can help with blocking. Last game against the Browns, I think Foster was second and then Jawan was fourth in receiving on the team. Now, granted, with the receiver core being depleted as it is, that isn't saying much because MVS was leading all receivers, but really just going out there and continuing to show that, okay, we can get you a first down. If it's third and the running game isn't going as much, you can throw it to me as an option. I think going forward, that is very important. Now, going back on the secondary, like you said earlier, the way I wrote it down is they need to show that they're the new hotness. It's cool to have people out there like Alante, who's played outside and played inside and now is transitioning back to the outside. And it's like, well, yeah, I have the crown now. I got to kind of grow back into that role and show that I'm, that guy on the outside. And you have Kool-Aid and a rookie that's like, all right, I was the stuff in college, and now that I'm in the NFL, I'm getting my feet wet, I'm getting more experience, I'm getting more PT, I'm able to show that, I'm a viable option out here. I think they need to continue to show that they're the new hotness. And when I say that, I mean, like, what was old was cool. Those guys like Marshawn, respect to them. They were out there. They handled their business. We can reach that type of level, not that exact level, because Marshawn, one of the best cornerbacks to ever walk through this building, can reach that somewhat type of level collectively as a unit. Like, we're not just, we're not toilet paper. You're not just running through us and stuff like that. So I think that's what they need to show.
Yeah, I mean, they put a lot of faith in him, trading Marshawn. And, I mean, he needs to just show that he's kind of a man in the garden and that he deserves it. You know what I mean? Like, he's got to just take it and be that guy. And I think he can. I mean, it's just we haven't seen it yet. Like, he's just got to show it that he can be that person at that position. I'll be interested to see for the they had to buy. You do some self-scouting. I'll be interested to see if they figured anything out about their pass rush during the week off.
Sure.
But I have a sinking feeling that they kind of maxed out the last 2 weeks. And I don't know if there's more there, but like if there is, this is the time to show it. This is the time to find it and light it up down the stretch.
Not really in terms of improving, but the last person I had on this list was actually Groupie, because you're going to need him to be able to conform to the elements. Maybe in 2 weeks when you go out to New York, you don't know what the weather's going to be out there. And in Green Bay, we're already chalking it up as a loss, but you never know with those weird weather games because even with the Browns, I think that was Christmas Eve like 2 years ago, Saints, they were in there boxing with them. So, yeah, I think Groupie needs to just conform to that.
He owes Lambeau Field one, too.
Yeah, and be able to come through on some of those kicks. I think that's very important.
Point, yeah.
But now it's time for our next segment presented by Aaron Rose. Is Cam Jordan's resurgence real?
I think to a degree. I believe in what we're seeing a little bit. I mean, he's playing better. I mean, I don't think there's another level beyond, but I think just allowing him to get into a flow of a game, being a veteran player, get some snaps, feel some love from the team, get into a flow of a game. Like, there's things he's going to be able to figure out how to make a play just by being out there and being able to use like his experience, like his mind. And I think that what we are seeing is sustainable for sure. I don't think it's fake. I mean, I don't want to overstate like what it is and how he's played. I mean, he's still, an older player or whatever, but there was more there than he was giving. And I think comparatively speaking with the guys he's competing against, like I don't feel like anybody was necessarily superseding what we've seen from him the last couple of weeks.
Right.
So
Right.
I do believe in what we have seen from him the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much credit Rizzi himself gets for playing Cam Jordan so much more. I mean, I'm sure it came up during meetings he was having with defensive coaches. I don't know if he suggested the idea or if it came out as groupthink, but he is both the cause and effect. I think he's such an energizing factor that I think they recognize that getting Cam Jordan out there doing the level celebration, being out there for 40 snaps a game, the energy clearly brings on the field anytime you've ever seen him mic'd up, and how some of that went away when he was playing 10 snaps and Cam Jordan's the guy slamming his helmet down, slamming the bench, upset on the way out of the field. Like that becomes symbolic of everything that's going wrong with the team. Cam back out there, energized and making plays, is symbolic of everything that's going right with the team right now. So I think it was just a really shrewd move to have him be an energizing leader of sort of this resurgence. But yeah, obviously a lot of the flaws we've seen are, the slowing down of his game naturally, obviously at age 35, is something that's not going to just go away overnight.
The thing that's interesting to me is that DA kept referring to him as a run defender, and I think his run defense has been kind of like the iffier part of his game the whole entire season. And I feel like the pass rushing has been maybe the better part. But again, I don't want to overstate like what it is we're seeing.
Yeah.
And it isn't just like a Cam thing. Like the whole it was a philosophical shift altogether on the defensive line, just playing guys longer, like giving them longer periods. It isn't kind of like a fire drill, play a snap out, play a snap out, play 2 snaps out. Like they're kind of allowing everybody to do that, including Cam. And I just think that all of them are playing a little bit better because like they're getting into the flow of the game.
No, for sure. I mean, having somebody, we talked about it last week, like who was that guy until 2 weeks ago where he came in and he got those 40-plus snaps. Like he came in ready to squabble up. He was out there really putting that work in, and then when he came out, you kind of felt, not, like you said, not overstating his presence on there, but we would talk to him in the locker room before, and he'd be like, what y'all want to talk to me for? You know what I mean? And now he's out there making things happen against Atlanta, and then just he's shown that he's still Cam Jordan. Maybe not at the same pace that he was before, but he's still Cam Jordan. And I like to see how far this can continue to go.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Score big with Saints Score. Win up to $100,000. Enter the second chance drawings for cool Saints prize packages. Play Saints Score scratch-offs from the lottery.
Hey everyone, with the holidays creeping up faster than your aunt's fruitcake recipe, I've got something way better to share with you. If you want to look sharp for all those festive gatherings and maybe finally win that Best Groomed at the Family Dinner Award, check out the latest masterpiece from Manscaped, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver. Trust me, it's like Rudolph for your face. guiding you to a smooth, irritation-free shave. Head over to manscaped.com and join the over 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using code NewOrleans for 20% off and free shipping.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of stepping into your dream home. At Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, we can help make that dream a reality with a team dedicated to you. When you partner with Jefferson Financial, you do so for the life of the loan. Having a single point of contact when questions arise is invaluable. Our experts are here to guide you every step of the way. There's no better time to invest in your future. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Whether you are a local New Orleanian or a fan in town for the game, get your pre- and post-game fired up at Aaron Rose. Local chaos and local love for the black and gold. Wake up and live with daily drink specials, mimosas, screwdrivers, Bloody Marys, and hot or frozen Irish coffees, all just $3 or $4 between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Aaron Rose, half a block from Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, 811 Conti Street.
Here at the Queen Casino, indulgence knows no bounds. Prepare your taste buds for an extraordinary culinary journey. Start your day at Capital Coffee. Craving something different? Three Walks Noodle Bar offers a tantalizing selection of Asian delights. At 1717 Kitchen and Cocktails, savor American cuisine with a twist. Or ascend to the loft for an elevated experience. Enjoy artesian grazing boards and exquisite craft cocktails. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome to the Oshner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute podcast studio here on Veterans Memorial Boulevard. It is now time for our next segment presented by Urban South. Can any pending free agents make a case over the final 6 weeks on why they should get paid, why they should stay here, why they are a top player on this team?
Yeah, it's probably more important to the guys on this list than I mean, since we don't think this team's going to the playoffs, there's a lot of guys on here who need to take full advantage of these last 6 games to show whether they should be back with the Saints or gain some attention around the rest of the league. And we were just talking about Chase Young, but I mean, he's the one that stands out here. This was supposed to be a prove-it season for him. If he really blew up this year, I mean, we're talking about the kind of guy who could have flirted with a $100 million contract. And, you know, last year he had to settle for a 1 year and $10 million plus incentives. But he stayed healthy. He strung a couple of sacks together in the last 2 games. I mean, he's the kind of guy who, if he gets 5 sacks over the last 6 weeks, he could double the size of his contract in free agency. So a 6-week sample size is maybe never meant more to a player heading into free agency. Maybe Jordan Love last year. I think he went to 55 million with a 6-game swing.
Definitely
so I won't overstate that.
Yeah,
but he's number one on this list.
I'm waiting for him to kind of just like tear it up and make someone turn the TV off. Like he just needs to like just light it up big time. And we haven't seen that yet. Like not at all. I don't know what his contract's going to look like. It's not going to be huge. Like you could get him back on a 1-year deal. Like if it keeps going kind of the way it has, I don't know what the competition will be for him. I don't know what the market will look like for him. But right now, like it feels like it'll probably be a somewhat soft market. Now, granted, you're talking about a guy with a name, so like he's going to get paid more than somebody else with the same exact stats just because of who he was. But he's got to really show something to get paid. Like, and I don't think he's going to get paid this offseason. Like,
yeah, I tend to agree, but I think there were question marks about Chase Young, obviously, like that effort question that chased him. Why isn't he more productive? Why isn't he more consistent? But obviously the major question mark was his health. And it's pretty remarkable that he hasn't on a team where nobody has stayed healthy. Chase Young has stayed healthy. If he puts a 17-game season together and he gets back to 7-8 sacks, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets paid the speculative money, because every team but the Saints is swimming in cap space right now. So he's really interesting for that reason.
What does that look like?
If he has his best stretch of the season over the last 6 games, not to tear it up, oh my God, who is this beast? But a highlight every week, like the one where he runs on the field and it's like, oh, Chase Young's still out there making plays. Oh, Chase Young played 17 games. Oh, Chase Young's still only 25 years old. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him flirt with multi-years and $18 million a year. I wouldn't, $18
million a year.
I wouldn't be shocked. We just saw Jonathan Greenard have the first good year of his career and make over $20 million a year. Like, people are starving for it.
What did he have last year, though?
Jonathan Greenard?
Yeah, what were his stats last year?
He used to get hurt. He used to be hurt. He finally had his breakout year for the Texans with 12.5 sacks. But, I mean...
I don't think Chase Young can get 5 sacks and get paid like that.
No, you're right. He can't finish with 5. But what does he have right now?
I think he played every game last season, didn't he?
Yeah.
No, he missed. I think he missed 1 game last year. Maybe it was 2 because he got traded. I don't know like how the bye week worked, but like he was healthy. Like he didn't miss time last year. Like he had like 7.5 sacks,
and he still got a deal worth up to $13 million. Yeah. So and that was because he needed neck surgery.
Yeah, he's hurt.
Like, but I don't think he's gonna go out and get 3 years.
Oh no.
$50 million or whatever, like whatever we're talking about here. Like I don't think that exists for him. I don't know. Like I think he's got to play a lot better. I think
he's got to play better. I mean, it's got to be the best 6-week stretch of his season, no question. But yeah,
I kind of feel like you're maybe getting him back like 2 years, $25 million.
He gets more next year than he got this year.
I don't know.
Already because there's no neck surgery.
He has 3 sacks.
Yeah. Well, he has more than that, right?
3, I think it's 3.5.
Is it? Yeah. 3.5. Yeah.
The thing with Chase Young, though, the point that you brought up, he has been available, and coming out of camp, we were like, you just have to wait and see for the game once they took the leash off him, because in camp he was just so dominant just throughout the whole time. But throughout the season, man, I mean, he's made some splash plays at points, but it's never been consistent enough to say, oh well, we got to key off of Chase Young, we got to make sure we chip him and all different things like that, because he hasn't consistently shown that.
Look, it has to look. I'm me flirting with those numbers. It has to look better, and it's like if the last 6 weeks look just like the beginning of this season, then
it's got to look better. Yeah. I mean, he could get some money. I don't think he's getting that money from a good team. Like I could see a bad team that has to pay someone to try to fill a hole to save the GM's job or whatever. Like, and it's like, oh, this is the best option, and I just don't think you're getting that money from a good team. Like, yeah, you could get it from like the Patriots maybe, because like Gerard Mayo feels like he's going to get fired if he doesn't do anything and nobody else wants to go there. But I just don't. It's got to be significantly more. I mean, the health part of it does help. I mean, obviously that's why he got a 1-year deal, but you have to get healthy and match your numbers, I think, or be better. And he got healthy, and it's just kind of is what it is right now.
Every other name on this list feels like a Saints decision first and foremost to me. I mean, maybe Peyton Turner is the kind of guy another team could be like, does he just need a change of scenery? Is this a Trey Hendrickson, Zach Bond situation? So maybe somebody would flirt with Peyton Turner. He's finally healthy for a season. I was kind of hoping we'd see more production out of him once he finally got a consistent opportunity to be on the field. So I don't think he would break the bank. Juwan Johnson, another fascinating one. I mean, what could he prove over the 6 games if this team doesn't know who he is by now? They've had him here for so long. Lucas Patrick, I think, has been a good contributor. Will Harris is starting to play some of his best football. Valdez Scantling has obviously stood out. Willie Gay's been valuable. I feel like those are guys who are trying to cement their case to come back on this team, because I don't feel like any of those other guys would price themselves out of New Orleans.
I could see someone trying to take Willie Gay as a starter maybe again. Like just – depending on what the market looks like for linebackers, and I can see some. There's always competition on receivers, and Valdez Scantling has gotten paid before, and I think he's playing well here. Like someone could be like, well, that's the guy we want, and the Saints might be like, well, we're not going to pay more than this, and I could see some competition there. Juwan Johnson's kind of interesting to me. I don't know what to expect from his market. I don't think you pay him what you paid him last time again.
Right. He got 2 years, $12 million last time.
I'm not paying that. So I don't know. That one's going to be really interesting.
Feels like Traquan Smith-ish. Like he came back again, I think 2 more times for less money after the first. And still valued, but just like, valued only as a complimentary piece. One name that's not on this list is Paulson Adebo. And to go back to you guys both listing corners as the most important position group on this team, the play of Alontae Taylor and Kool-Aid McKinstry could affect their need to bring Paulson Adebo back.
Really good point.
Yeah.
Really good point.
Will Harris, he's a name on this list who, coming into the season, we were like, all right, they have Will Harris on this team. But during training camp, when people were getting hurt, he was filling in, showing that he was versatile in different spots. First game, gets a pick, to start off basically the defensive season, goes on IR, comes back. And when he came back, I felt like his spark that he brought to the defense kind of after coming off of those weeks of just not being able to tackle, not being able to really bow up on anybody. Of course, the Rizzi effect is involved in that, but I mean, it's Tyler Algier. I don't know. I think that's one of the most unsung plays of the season.
That's a good point.
Tyler Algier was running all over the Saints when the Saints went to Atlanta. He comes here. Will Harris says peekaboo, bam, pops him and lays him out. So I don't know if that's enough to, keep him on the roster going forward, but he really is a guy that I think, he pushed Jonathan Abram out of the building in a certain sense of speaking. Of course, there were different things like his special teams ability and things like that, but I like Will Harris. I like what he brings to this team.
Really good point. Obviously Jordan Howden, he's got a couple of takeaways in his career, right? Does he have one or two? But has Jordan Howden ever made you notice him as much as Will Harris did on that one play?
For the wrong reason.
I still think they need to get one though. I would probably try to draft someone. Like they painted their picture what the defense was supposed to be, and it's kind of been a whacked out mural a little bit. So I would go into the offseason looking to draft a safety for sure.
For sure.
One forced fumble last year and one interception this year for Howden.
Now it's time for our next segment presented by Hard High Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. Now it's time for the season MVP at this point. Now it's hard because a lot of people haven't played consistently.
It's not hard.
Who you got?
Hard High needs to sponsor who's number two.
There's one champion wearing Dodger blue right now.
That's right.
That's Alvin, man. Like,
all right, that was my obvious one.
He's the MVP of the season.
Yeah, this is not hard.
I thought we had to pick separate ones. That's right, because we all
what's
had
hard is
number
who's
one
number two on this list. Yeah, exactly. Let's give Alvin his love first for a minute before we start talking about who's even another candidate.
He's the best player on the team. There's no question about it.
Best player on the team, most important player on the team, important player on the field, most inspirational, energizing player off the field, the way they're naming him a captain mid-season. We saw the process he goes through to stay on the field. Please check that out on YouTube if you somehow missed it so far with him and Dr. JT. But, every other candidate I have for this list has missed 3 games or 5 games or 7 games or 9 games. And Alvin hasn't missed, and he's played the best. It's the most obvious, MVP in every sense of what the word MVP could mean to a team. I think it's an interesting discussion if we had to say, name 2 players. Blake Grupe was a guy I considered for that. He's 18 of 19 field goals. I think Derek Carr has a strong case because he's played really well when he's played, and he was missed so badly in the 3 games he missed. And for that matter, Eric McCoy missing like 7-8 games, and then them playing well before and after he got hurt. But that's a guy who's played in 3 games this year, so you can't name him. And the other ones, it's like, man, you're so missed. Like Olave, it's really interesting to me. There's not a clear second candidate. Talifaga's played every game. Who else is?
I clearly think I overanalyzed this question because I thought we all had to pick all individual MVPs, and I knew Alvin was going to be number. It's very hard to do because you said Eric McCoy. He was initially on my list. He only played 3 games, so that kind of takes him out of contention for me. Derek Carr, he showed that he was missed, but has it been enough time for him even being on to be in that? He could be a solid number 2, but I said in terms of consistency, being on the field, man, he has some dropped interceptions that really would have changed the tide of some games. But Tyron, I think he has to somewhat be in the conversation. Of course, not his best season, but he's consistently been on the field. He's been he was just the other option for me just because of his presence in the locker room, his presence in the secondary. Marshawn leaves, and they're not without a leader and decapitated in that kind of certain sense. So I'll have to pick Tyron as one of my other picks. But Alvin, of course, number 1, played hurt, consistent, putting up some of the best numbers in his career. He's clearly number 1, but I thought we had to choose different people. So Tyron was getting my
2 would probably be Taysom. If I had to do a second person, it'd probably be Taysom, and then my 3 would probably be Derek Carr. If I had to pick a defensive player,
it was Alante until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Granderson's on the list. Not a ton of production, but he's been okay. I don't know. You start going beyond that, and I want to start making cases for Valdez-Scantling almost. He's been huge in 2 games. But I think my 1 would be Alvin, my 2 would be Taysom, my 3 would be Carr.
And Taysom's missed 4 games. It's crazy. It's crazy, and that's just showed how valuable he was when he was missed in those games. But look, if we had done this segment 2 weeks ago, I think Alante probably would have ranked number 2 behind Alvin, and Alante could very easily get back there again. if he just had 2 kind of down weeks as he made that transition and he finishes strong, I think it'll end up as Alvin 1, Alante 2. And then like Pete Werner and Demario Davis are other guys who've had their moments, but also have missed time due to injury. But Werner in particular is a guy whose arrow's definitely up this season. It's just hard to make an MVP case when
and like I think McCoy has a strong case. In the,
he really does.
Like you realize, the old like distance makes the heart grow fonder type thing.
For sure. Now it's time for the Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of handpicked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's, so much more than just wine. Today's question is, assuming the offensive staff stays, do you think they will start transforming the wide receiver room? What would that mean for Shaheed and Olave?
I think regardless of who the offensive staff is, the wide receiver room is going to transform. They absolutely have to go out and get a body type that can be a number 1 receiver. I've said it a million times. Like, it's fine if Chris Olave is your best receiver. It's fine if Rashid Shaheed is your number 2 receiver, second best receiver. But you need to have somebody that can make physical plays. I mean, ideally, you're getting your number 1 guy in that same package. But if you aren't drafting that early in the draft, you probably aren't addressing that. And you probably aren't going to go out and spend $30 million on a wide receiver given where your team's at. But they have to go out and get somebody that can be something else, that gives them another element of something. And that has to start now. But I think long term, like, you need to go out and you need to find like your I don't want to say like Jamar Chase, but like somebody with that body type. Like, you need to get somebody that can be, the Mike Thomas type. I think they have to do that regardless.
We can't get Jamar Chase, but you could get T. Higgins. But I mean, that would cost $25 million. I don't know if you can do that. I mean, do you bring in, a cheaper Keenan Allen, a cheaper Amari Cooper, or do you settle and make it your third best receiver? But you're exactly right. They need that other element of pass catcher. And even if they bring, we had a question about MVS, probably multiple questions about MVS in recent weeks about if he could be the third. He could be in the 4, but that's another guy who doesn't bring that element, and there's a lot of redundancies with those guys. So the only thing I would say is transform is a big word. Like, transform makes me think like totally rebuild. I think they need to add 1 more guy, but it needs to be a heavy investment.
Yeah. I wouldn't go out and pay someone though. Not where they're at. Not where they're at. Like, I don't think so. I wouldn't do. I feel like T. Higgins in particular is going to end up. He's going to end up getting too much. He's going to get overpaid and he's going to disappoint. Like, he has great PR. T. Higgins has great PR. Like, maybe he does get out from Jamar's shadow or whatever, and he looks great. But I don't know. Like, he's had like 2 good seasons. I feel like he's been okay the other years. I don't know. I wonder like if he's getting the attention if he can make plays. He feels like somebody, if the Saints sign him, like, we'll do the film study, we'll talk about him. We'll talk about him like we talked about Chase Young, and then it'll be like, damn, like, it just didn't work out the way it was supposed to. But maybe not. Maybe he will end up being the guy. But he is the right body type. It's the right idea. Like, you need that 6'3". He's 6'4", 200 plus pounds. He's a bigger guy. That is the body type you need. I just don't want to see him go spend a ton of money. Like, I just don't think they're there yet. I don't think they're there yet.
Right.
But maybe.
I agree. And the same with Keenan Allen. I mean, I think Keenan Allen will cost half as much, at least in total value.
I would do that.
But even then, like, should the Saints be paying Keenan Allen $15 million at what they're going to be? And the answer is probably no. I mean, we've seen them actually take a measured approach to free agency, and even though they're not going to rebuild, I don't expect them to all of a sudden be paying a 34-year-old receiver
on a 1 year, like on a 1 year or something. Like, I wouldn't be mad at if they did something similar to that in the Chase Young mold of like, okay, we're going to be cheap everywhere else, but like, we really got to address this a little bit, and we're gonna spend the money here because we drafted a defensive end in the first round and took a defensive tackle in the second round, and whatever. I would be okay with like one. I just don't. I don't think that they're in the position to be like, we're gonna go give. And T's going to probably cost more than $25 million. Like, those prices are going crazy right now. Like, I just don't think they should be the team that goes out and they're like, we're going to give T. Higgins the $100 million contract. Like, I just don't. I don't know.
That'll do it for this edition of NewOrleans.Football. We appreciate y'all for stopping in today. If you're not a member, make sure you become a member. Sign up. Even gift a subscription to somebody this holiday season if you don't know what to get anybody. Overtime is next. Catch you next time.